Welcome back. Now, you know where you're at. And whether it's Star Trek,
Or D&D.
DC,
Or Marvel.
it's Table
Table
Talks. Oh my.
What's that?
Do you know what that sound is? That's the sound of
Jackhammers?
hardcore. That is the sound of hardcore character creation.
Ah, yep.
And that's what we're here to talk about today. So, I'm gonna cheap out of this by not going first and making you go first to everything that happens from this point forward.
Of course.
So, question number one,
Mm-hmm.
because this applies to all general character creation outside of like cosplay, right? Because you have a character idea.
Yeah, cosplay is different, but we're talking
general
D&D,
roleplay,
tabletop,
video
characters.
games. Video games, LARP, character creation, tabletop stuff.
Tabletops.
Some board games.
Yep. Some of them.
Civilization.
In particular.
Stuff like that. So, question number one is, how do you begin a character creation setting? Like, when you need to create a character, how do you start?
Well, the first thing that I look into for character creation is what is going to be my drive or my motivation.
Right.
Because that is the key to a good character, is motivation. So I always typically pick my class first. Whether I'm being a rogue or I'm being a magic user or a fighter, I pick what I want my character to do. Am I going to be a brawler? Am I going to be up front in people's faces and knocking them in with axes? Or am I going to be standing back casting? Depending on how I want to play. And then after that, I determine what my background is. You know, where I came from. What's driving me to where I am now.
Okay.
Right, which is the beginning of the story.
See, and for me, it's kind of backwards, and then I think that character creation is I'm a purist. Character creation develops what the character will do and what it will be, as opposed to the other way around. So you say, I'm a fighter, I'm going to do this. And I think that it's on the other side of things where I go, you know, where am I from? What kind of place was I raised in, and what is a character from that setting going to have involved with those kind of things? And so if I'm, you know, born in a slum for my character, then I'm either probably a really grifty kind of person, or I could be a really, really good person, right? Because you're trying to oppose the way that goes. Yeah, and so I kind of move that, and I say, well, what makes me a good person or a bad person, and who have I met that made this happen, and I kind of just roll with that for a little while until I get this mental image of what I'm going to portray, and then that's what my character becomes.
Yeah. You know, and that in and of itself, what I've figured out over my tenure playing these types of games is, if you know where your character is starting from, it gives motivation for certain decisions you may make in the game. It gives, you know, kind of a pathway for you to follow, but it doesn't give you an ironclad, this is what my character is doing, because you have to develop with the game as well.
Well, yeah, see, because now we're talking about the two styles of character creation. And the first being kind of the purest outlook that a character is created to have a backstory and to have an existence. The other style of character creation is, you know, MinMaxing.
Oh, MinMaxing, yeah.
Okay, well, I see you're opinionated. But
hey, I don't mind MinMaxing. You know, I don't.
It's metagame for sure.
Yeah, metagame for sure.
Metagaming can be bad in some settings, but I think that it's acceptable in other settings. So it's kind of weird in that if you want to do it at a tabletop board game, I think it's kind of not. It's kind of frowned upon, right?
Yeah, you shouldn't min-max, you shouldn't metagame in a tabletop system, because if you're an experienced player like us, you know, and we know how the system itself works, it's easier for us to manipulate it.
Well, there's that, and then I think another huge aspect of it is socially it's unacceptable because the role plays deeper.
Right.
Right, you're role playing deeper.
Yep.
So min-maxing is kind of unacceptable, as opposed to on a video game
where
games. Maybe you're in a social environment or group that you play with, and you guys do role play, and it is all spoken role play, right? But
it's still kind of there.
Well, it's in a game where you have to excel,
Mm-hmm.
like to keep playing. Usually, like so, I think in game of WoW and stuff like that. And there's role play guilds, and there were whole servers for a long time. And so, if you want to play like that, you have to min max kind of like you have to go. I am the paladin, and I'm going to be the best at being a paladin.
Yeah, I think that in video games, min maxing is actually super beneficial. In video games because it allows you to play the game to its fullest extent. If you know how the system works, you min-max your character to do what you want it to do, then you
kind
can
of just role play it.
yeah,
the way
you can
feels.
play the game to its fullest extent. In a tabletop though, or in a live action role play, min-maxing your character usually ends up with you being overpowered in one way or another and kind of railroading the game.
Right. See, and it's because like the drive for me, it's more role play oriented, and in some live action combative sports, I find that sometimes it's okay and sometimes it's not, depending on what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so it's a little more complicated. But again, like I said, I'm a purist. I prefer to role play over. Be super powerful or super strong.
Most definitely. I enjoy the roleplay aspect.
I'm also 240 pounds and 6 foot tall, and I'm a big guy, so I'm kind of powerful when we go to live action events anyway, because I'm a bigger guy, and so I have a height advantage and a reach advantage.
Well, and in tabletops and in live actions, things like that, you always have new players that may not understand how the game works. And then they see a player come out who's min-maxed or who's metagaming, and they don't understand how they're able to do those things because they're new players to the system.
Right. Well, I'm no expert on character creation by any stretch of the imagination.
Neither am I. We always are learning.
I think character creation is an unmasterable art.
Correct.
And it's just something you get good with over time, right?
Hello, I'm Bob Ross.
And of course. I think that the better you get at it, the more often you're going to min-max and stuff, right? Because you get
true.
kind of burned on maybe creating characters and figuring out how you're going to play it and what you're going to enjoy doing. Or maybe you hit writer's block.
Yeah, that's why I like having, a background story, so to speak, of my character. That way, if I run into a situation where I'm not really sure what to do, like my player brain, right? My player brain is going, I don't know what I should do. We've been hitting a lot of traps, or we've been hitting a lot of weird monsters, things like that, and I don't know what to do as a player. I can fall back on my character knowledge and act how my character would.
Right, try to respond accordingly. What kind of things do you use to draw inspiration for character creation?
Well, some of the things I use for character inspiration is, one, alignment.
Yeah, are you a good guy, are you a bad guy?
Yeah, alignment is a huge thing. Are you good? Are you bad? Are you lawful? Are you chaotic? Are you neutral and you really don't give a dang? That kind of thing. And so alignment goes a lot into my character creation. It's one of the first things I decide on is alignment. And then I think about, the world that I'm in if I have a decent setting. So like for D&D, most dungeon masters will give you kind of an open setting, what the world is kind of about as you start creating characters.
What it could be, what it might be, what it looks like.
And so I think about the world, and if, say, I'm deciding on a rogue, right? I think about, where I grew up. Did I grow up in the slums, or did I grow up in the city and just did it for fun? Did I do it out of survival, or because I wanted to? Yeah. And those things will help develop a little bit of a backstory. And it doesn't have to be huge and in-depth. Your backstory will continue to grow as you play the game. But just a set of, like, concrete, I guess morals is the right word?
So you lean towards the inside to kind of figure out who you're going to be.
Yep.
I have a bit of a physical attack on the subject.
Oh, yeah?
When I want to develop a character to kind of help me avoid getting writer's block, if I don't have something immediately to mind about what I'm trying to portray or what I'm trying to do in a setting, I start looking for physical stuff to draw from. And so, like, magic cards, this is a weird thing that somebody might bring up, but what I would say is I can look in here and I can look at a character on a card and I can go, oh, okay, well, that's kind of neat. Maybe I can build something that's going to be portrayal of this visual thing. Or if I'm going to a LARP and I'm like, what am I going to be this weekend at LARP? We have
Yep. Both of these are super
these
nice.
super cool drinking horns. I love these things. These are neat. And then, of course, I saw these and I was like, I'm going to be a Viking because I want to carry that around all weekend. So
Yeah.
I kind of look to the physical environment around me and I try to portray characters that fit with what I have, kind of because I'm cheap and I don't like building new stuff or buying new stuff all the time.
That's always.
But I use my physical surroundings to try to get my inspiration in. And develop a character, especially for like live action stuff. It's all about what's around me. When it's role playing stuff on tabletops or in video games, I kind of I can look to stuff like Magic. I can look to other video games, books, movies, anything like that, and go, oh, okay, I kind of like that character. I'm gonna be Geralt in D&D from that video game I played, but I'm just not gonna be Geralt. I'm just gonna do my best to get skill lining and background that kind of lines up with that.
That's something as well, if you're not really sure like what class to play, if you're new to D&D or Star Wars tabletop or what have you, but that you identify, I guess identify is the right word, you match up with, like, let's say, I don't know, Han Solo in Star Wars, right? He's a pilot, he's a smuggler. Cool. Okay, how do I build him?
Right.
That's a good inspiration tool.
How do
as
I
well.
end up with this?
Yeah, I actually used that
I think that's a great way.
Yeah, I used that kind of similar thing a while back when I was doing a Star Wars tabletop. It was before I got real big into Star Wars, and now I'm a complete nerd. But I didn't really know much about the universe. All I really knew was there were these people who used these light swords and could do magic. And then there were the...
What?
This was my description at the time. Okay? Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me in that tone of voice.
Finish your story.
And I knew that there were pilots and fighters and stuff like that. And so when I created my character, I became the co-pilot of a ship. Right? That another character was the pilot of. And I just kind of rolled off of that. I'd watched a lot of Matrix at the time, and I just kind of pulled from what I'd seen in movies and books about someone who would pilot a ship or a second mate on a ship. Spaceship, anyway.
Well, follow-up. We're pretty deep, but I feel like an important question at this point is, since you're so opinionated about everything, is which do you prefer when role-playing? Are you a fantasy kind of a person, or are you a space sci-fi kind of a person, or...
I suppose...
A little steampunk, or a little medieval in there?
I suppose for me, it really depends on what I'm reading or video gaming at the moment.
Right, so everything around you can have an impact on what you feel like
so
doing.
If I've been into my sci-fi kick, I've been watching Star Wars or Star Trek, or aliens. If those are the types of books that I'm reading, I tend to lean more towards those because they're fresh in my brain. Right. I can pull inspiration.
Right.
If I'm on one of my Harry Potter, Aragon, Lord of the Rings kicks, then I lean more towards medieval D&D kind of style. It also depends on who's running what and where.
Right.
That's a huge thing. If my D&D group, we got to the end of a campaign and somebody decides to go ahead and pull up, I don't know, Star Wars tabletop or Pathfinder or Shadowrun or one of the many renditions of D&D, I'm going to play what they're going to put in front of me.
Yeah. Well, I actually kind of linger towards having a thing that I like, and I really enjoy steampunk. I really enjoy steampunk. Awesome. Probably number one. And then I have preferences, man. I really do. I like steampunk. Post-apocalyptic is a close first too. I can't even put it in second. It's a close first too. I guess if I had to choose, if I had to choose, it would be fantasy medieval style. Yeah. Well, and
I guess would
that's
be my
very
go-to.
traditional.
Yeah.
That's very
Wizards,
traditional.
druids, assassins,
Mhm.
bards.
Well, it's familiar
clerics.
and the world's real colorful.
Yeah.
So I dig that, and I see the
Yeah.
attraction to that. I like sci-fi stuff is probably my close second. I like things in space because it has that same open, like, kind of, wow, do whatever you want. But I think fantasy is steeped in the tradition of it's a fantasy. You can
literally do whatever you want. Yeah.
So that's always fun for character creation.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have a definite preference. I like space lasers and laser guns, lightsaber sounds. I like that sci-fi tech kind of stuff. I like the steam engines and
we've been on that kick with the video game lately, and it's all space oriented and stuff too.
Yeah,
so
love it.
yeah, space is a really open world. Well, open worlds plural. As far as tabletopping goes or LARPing goes, anything like that.
Yeah, I think it's actually one of the sides of roleplay that a lot of people don't get into immediately up front because they don't see the appeal in it. That it is very open and very contrasting, and there's just a lot of depth to the character and the person that's portraying this particular character. When it's in space, everything is more advanced. People act a different way.
There's different moralities.
The belief systems are either going to be heavily more steeped or totally abolished. And the way that those things affect you civically is what changes the way that role play comes out. So I think it's a close second for me, something like that. Fantasy is my least favorite.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like fantasy as much. I play a lot of it, and it doesn't mean I dislike it. It just isn't overly appealing to me because I don't feel like we dodged living in a steampunk world, and I feel like we're not going to live in a Jurassic Park world, and I feel like we probably could get to a Star Trek world, but I don't think we're ever going to have wizards and dragons.
Right.
So it's the least appealing to me because then I get to do this for the weekend. I'm a druid. I commune with trees. I can make elephants my friends. And then I go outside and I hug a tree and I try to talk to an elephant and then I get attacked by an elephant. That's not funny.
You lean. I'm picturing you getting stomped to death by an elephant. It's hilarious.
Why does everyone laugh at that same thing?
I don't know, but it's funny. So you lean more towards things that could potentially happen.
Yes, I like.
Like preparation or.
Well,
I mean, do you have a zombie escape plan that you haven't told me about?
I have half of a zombie escape plan that I'm willing to tell you about, and half that you just have to trust me on. Now, what do you say to that? No.
No.
Well.
Because we'll end up dead, or he'll trip me. He'll trip me to let the zombie eat me, so he can run his fat butt out of here.
You know what? Next time we play a game, I'm going to play a coward, and I'm going to develop a coward character, and I'm going to trip you every time anything happens.
I trip myself often enough.
I am. I'm going to trip you in space. I'm going to space trip you.
Force choke.
Okay. Well, this has been the end of an open discussion on character creation, and we hope that just getting the subject out and talking about it a little bit gave you guys something to think about. And hopefully, if you've hit any writer's block and you can't come up with something, or you just didn't know where to go, you can look to kind of what we've said and the ideas behind it, and why people role play the way they do, and see if it helps you develop something deeper.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that I can say about character creation originally is that going into it, this is a character you're going to spend some time with, some long periods of time, maybe short periods of time. But create someone who you're going to enjoy being. Yeah,
we all know that the curse of portraying a character is that people, just like what we deal with in life, things have to come and they have to go. And people get very attached to very good characters. Yep. But that's a very good thing, because that's like living out a book. It's like living out a video game if you get to role play and get deep with that character. Yep. And I enjoy that. I think that's probably the best aspect of it.
Creating a character that you're going to like to play and that you can play well using your knowledge and things around you to kind of flesh out your character. I've played characters, 10 years back that I still remember, and they can still take me out of my head and I can go right into my character's headspace, and how they would act. And so creating a character that you're going to like, and you're going to have an easy time playing is a wonderful thing.
Right. Well, that's it, guys. We hope it helps. I hope that it gets anybody who's suffering, like I said, out of the hole and back into doing what we all know we love and enjoy. We're nerds, and this is what we do.
This is what we do.
At the end of all of it, this has been Table Talks. We appreciate you guys. Don't forget to give us a like,
share, subscribe.
Facebook, Instagram,
Twitter.
That's us.
Yep, that's all of us.
You guys have a good night.
Goodbye.